Welcome back, everybody, to the Omni stage at Event Tech Live USA Canada 21 and to our final session of this 3-day extravaganza. I'm delighted to say that our next guest now joins me from the UK, so is on the same time zone as me, but has an accent that's far more suited to our audience on this fine evening here in the UK. Harlan Davis is the Vice President of Production at GDS Group, joins us from the company's base down in Bristol. Harlan, welcome to Event Tech Live. It's great to have you here.
It is great to be here. How are you doing? My accent might be a bit more suited to the audience, but you sound far more intelligent than I do. So if we could switch for this, that would be even better. But great to be here with you.
I've made a career out of sounding more intelligent than I actually am, Harlan. One thing that I noticed when I saw the title of the session that you're about to deliver is that instantly a song switched in my head and I couldn't help but start singing the title of this session, How COVID Killed the Webinar Star, which I'm now going to plant in everybody's head, and that's going to be the song in their head now for the next 3 days. It's a hot topic. It's a great one to finish the 3 days of Event Tech Live on. And I'm going to hand over to you, Harlan, to take things away. And I'll see you back again a little bit later on for some questions.
Sounds great. And thank you. And also, I'm sure on behalf of everybody who's participated in the event, I'm sure it's been a busy few days for you. So thank you. I'm sure you've done a great job. And same with all the technical production crew, Glisser Grip, everybody involved who I've worked with some of those folks before. This is a big undertaking. So I'm sure everybody is itching to wrap up and enjoy the rest of their evening. So well done to everybody. So thanks, everyone. I'm really excited to join you here today. As he said, I am in Bristol, which is our headquarters. We also have offices in New York and Miami. And we're actually in the process of running a US-based summit as we speak. So I actually have a team of people in the office that I can see on another floor through the window, facilitating some one-on-one meetings. But it's a pleasure to cap off the event with everybody. And as he said, the title, COVID killed the webinar star. What it's really about is it's about what is actual immersion, what is actual connection, why are webinars dead? And I know that's a broad statement, but I think it's about understanding the behavior of what people want to get out of digital engagements and what they want to get out of virtual meetings, whether they're large-scale meetings, intimate meetings, and how collectively I think we all need to keep pushing in that direction to create experiences that people feel add true value that they walk away from, whether they're business events, whether they're consumer events, and how we've gotten there and how we've learned about that over the last 15, 16 months. So I thought I'd give a brief introduction and kind of tell you a little bit about GDS Group and our story, and that lends some context, and to talk about how we view what does great virtual engagement that adds value to attendees actually mean. So for those of you who aren't familiar with us, GDS Group for the last 15 years or so has been operating in the business-to-business space, where we had been running executive summits both in North America as well as in Europe across different verticals such as retail, manufacturing, healthcare, as well as disciplines such as CIO, CMO that are cross-vertical events. And the format of our events has always been the same. It was 3 days in a very, very cushy Ritz-Carlton somewhere where there was 70 to 80 attendees who were invited down, who were senior C-level -3 executives at top brands and companies in that space. And they would come down to achieve certain things that gave them value and better equipped them to do their jobs as executives. So to network, to learn, to share failures, share successes, gain new ideas and inspirations outside of their own four walls. And the events were sponsored by technology companies and solution providers, 15 to 20 or so, who would come down to participate in this knowledge sharing, where together the people pushing the boundaries of technology and the people responsible for industries really in that sort of environment could walk away better equipped to do their jobs as professionals, and for the sponsors to hopefully generate some more sales pipeline, be seen as thought leaders. So we were faced with a situation like everybody else was at the beginning of 2020, where we were about to embark on a 52 event schedule across the next 6 months or so, with absolutely no way to do it as we had normally done. And I think what we looked at and what kind of our reckoning was, can we still deliver the value that our attendees look to us to deliver them by attending our events? And the same attendees who attend our events year after year, quarter after quarter. And rather than get scared by the prospect of, what are we going to do? Are people going to enjoy it? What we stopped and we paused and we thought about was, well, the needs of these executives who are in really important positions and responsible for thousands of people in their organizations hasn't changed. If anything, the digital transformation projects they were in charge of, or are still in charge of, and their corporate initiatives only got accelerated because what COVID did is it made all of these things that they might have had 3 to 5 year runways to do become imminently important in terms of survival and thriving. So the importance of actually connecting with each other, connecting with solution providers and technology companies who can help them on their journeys, it didn't change. If anything, the need for those connections was actually accelerated. So what we looked at and what we decided to do was, rather than get intimidated or rather than get, I guess you would say, panicked about, well, how do we do this? We said, well, wait a minute. If our North Star has always been to create an experience at our physical events where our attendees walk away saying, I extracted that value and I walked away with those outcomes, surely we're in a position where we can look at how we can take what digital behavior is and facilitate those same value and outcomes by pivoting our physical events into the digital space. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we learned, which is, for any organization, it is about staying true to your North Star about why are you putting on an event, whether that event was physical or now virtual or digital or any of the myriad of terms we can use. Why did my attendees come? And what did I want them to walk away thinking and feeling and having experience like their time ROI was worth that value? And one of the biggest things that we thought about and looked at, and we were very upfront in communicating with all of our executive attendees and our sponsor companies, was we don't want to be talked at. We don't want to self-serve content. If you're going to find a way to do this that is going to give us the same value, you need to make us feel like we are in the room together. And obviously, physical versus digital, there's always that serendipitous moments that I think everyone is still struggling to achieve in the most powerful way possible in the digital world. However, there are ways to look at technology and say, how can we make everybody feel like they're there for the same reason and that they can extract that value by being there for a common purpose? So when we talk about, COVID killed the webinar star, one of the things that, and this is not just us saying it, this is talking to thousands of executives and different people who work with us because they saw us as a partner who always provided them experience, previously, is that they needed impact and they needed answers. And that can only truly come from engagement and data-driven engagement by connecting with the right people and actually and truly being able to converse with them. And if we look at the landscape of what it is now and what a webinar actually is, and when I use the term webinar, what I actually mean is somebody clicking on something and listening to somebody else speak to them without the ability to interact, to challenge, to know who else is there, why they're there. We're actually competing in a landscape with that medium, with Instagram, with YouTube, with any other content medium where the user is in total control over when they are digesting it without any real ability to get feedback or have commonality or community with other people who are there for the same reason. Because at the end of this, it's still the people connections that is what facilitates impact and value and stimulation for attendees of any sort of event. So we went on a journey where we tried and tested and decided that as long as the technology decisions that we were making facilitated that North Star goal of my technology decisions facilitating powerful and impactful connections, immersion, and value, then they would be the right decisions. So I actually have a short video I want to play for everyone just to kind of give you an idea of how we've done this. And by no means am I saying, us as an event company whose revenue depended on sponsorship to these events. We're obviously in a different position than, say, companies who used events as a vehicle, as part of their marketing mix or part of their sales pipeline development. So for us, it was mission critical. And I'm not saying everybody can do what we've done, but if nothing else, just walking away with the understanding of the journey that we went on and how we arrived at what we did. It wasn't about finding the coolest technology. It was about understanding the emotions of users as people and as professionals and what they want to get out of it, and using technology to find a way to facilitate that. So if you bear with me briefly, what I'll do is I'll just share a video that kind of highlights the platform. And we get back, talk a little bit more about digital behavior and how in many ways it can be more impactful when you can create real connections and create real immersion than physical actually can be.
This is the coolest virtual event that I have participated in.
The GDS Summit definitely streamlined our sales cycle by at least 50%.
Welcome to the new, where we deliver all your event objectives in a digital-first world.
Okay, so I just saw one of the comments in the chat that you could see the video, but the sound wasn't working great. So apologies for that. That's okay. There was just a bunch of music. There wasn't much talking anyway. So I think what everybody, what I want everybody to kind of understand and realize is that all events are different, right? We are a company who curate and produce executive level events where it is about people meeting people. And I think the biggest question that you need to ask yourself when looking at should I be doing a webinar is actually, what is it you're looking to achieve within any event that you're running? Are you looking for people to walk away a little bit more informed? If that's the case, maybe the webinar is the right vehicle, because the way that we see it is a webinar is essentially content, and content has many shapes and forms, and obviously content can be consumed on many different channels. But as professionals in the event industry, like we all are, if we're talking about how to make an impact by bringing people to digital events, the first question to ask yourself is, as I said earlier, what is it that we want our attendees to walk away feeling like they achieved? What's the value and the outcomes that they achieved? And if it is an event where it is about being with other people, plain and simply, without sounding arrogant about it, make sure that they are with other people. And I think what we're going to be striving to do each step of the way on our journey as well is to figure out and create more ways where that interaction and those connections between people are more and more data driven. Because I think if there's anything that we've all learned, what are the advantages, obviously, of virtual and digital, especially when you can create that immersion versus the physical space. And one of the most powerful and impactful ones is obviously that time ROI, which I think is one of the more common ones that we all talk about. But actually, in the world that we're all living in now, the organic nature of how people can take virtual meetings, virtual events that they've been to, and apply connections that they've made, learnings that they've found, new ideas that they've seen, and apply them into their day-to-day, whether that's somebody's personal life from a consumer side of things, or if it's a business event, their ability to take what they've learned or met somebody and introduce them to somebody else much more organically. It fits into the way of working of people today. And I think that that's where one of the greatest opportunity lies in understanding how to create those connections and finding technology platforms, whether they're partners or things that you build your own, that truly creates those connections. I think we've all been in the world, prior to 2020, where we've been at a summit or we've been at a conference or we've been at an event, and you can say that you've had a phenomenal 3 or 4 days and you met 30 people that you want to follow up with, and you came across with 10 more business cards where you want to request information. And in that moment, the value of that time that you spent there feels really great. But the truth of that is it is a bit of a cocoon. And for the majority of people, at the end of that event, they're back into an Uber, they're checking their emails, they're already thinking about what it is they need to achieve in the office on Monday when they get, after they fly home for 3 hours on that Friday night. And a lot of that magic that was captured at that event, unfortunately, is wasted time or wasted effort. Because with the best intentions in the world, people are busy people. And as soon as reality sat back in a lot of these physical events, I'd say on average, most people probably took advantage of 25% of the time that they invested into that event and what they tangibly got out of it and followed through and followed up on post-event. One of the most interesting things to see during these last year and a half, and I think we've had success with it, and I've spoken to lots of other people who have had success, is that a powerful and impactful digital event where people are meeting each other and meeting each other for a reason, and data-driven platforms like the one that we're on now with Grip and showing who you should connect with and if you can do those meetings. I'm meeting those people in the natural flow of my organic daily life. This, how I'm talking to you right now, is how I speak to my colleagues. This is how I speak to my employees. This is how I speak to my partners. So actually the ability, if you can create virtual engagements and events, whether they're for driving sales pipeline or getting new leads. I know there was a lot of sessions that I saw earlier today about how to use events for marketing purposes. If you can create that immersion in that true environment where the users are there and they can ask questions and you're actually connecting with them, their ability to take that away and apply it into their day-to-day jobs and lives literally 24 hours later, or bring additional people into the fold who might be more relevant or as relevant with their organizations, you're actually reaching them and impacting them in a way that the physical events never really allowed us to. So if you think about what a one-dimensional webinar is, where you are asking people to sign up to something because you're going to tell them about something, really what you're not doing then is you're not taking an advantage of any of the inherent things that we've just learned about human nature in this year and a half, where we've all figured out ways to live, flourish, work, and communicate purely in a digital way. And I think that for GDS Group and what we do for our clients, and we run events in our platform in our studio where the technology can bring the audience, as you saw in the video, actually into it. It's a way for them to actually connect on a deeper level than they probably ever could have physically. And what you kind of can create over time in using platforms and technology like this is different than in the old world, where maybe with clients or partners or even colleagues who are halfway around the world, where you're having a conversation with them physically when you get to see them 2 or 3 times a year and have a relationship. These sort of immersive digital experiences actually enables us and our clients to have an ongoing conversation. And when an ongoing conversation, you're closer, you're more attuned to the needs, the wants, and what's coming next. And in some ways, and I know everybody say it and it's cliched, it actually makes us in business and in our personal lives closer in some ways than we ever have before. So I think if there's any one big takeaway, before I perhaps welcome James back, or we have any questions, I know there's only 5 minutes left, would be stay true to what the North Star is of what your events or your event offering are in the first place. Don't chase technology for technology's sake. Chase the goal of what you want your users to walk away, feeling like they accomplished. And in order to do that, find ways to put people in the same room. And in some ways, the term Zoom fatigue is, I think, overused. And I think the reason that it's overused is because we all spend so much of our day-to-day lives, whether it's on Zoom or Teams or any of the platforms, talking to our colleagues and our teams. The connections with people who you don't know, but if they're there at an event for a particular reason, which is a reason aligned for yours, and you're both there, when I say both, this could be many people, if everybody is there for a reason, a common reason, then actually the most important thing you should be trying to do is create immersion engagement where they feel like they're there, and that sense of community, actually an emotion, can in some ways mirror what we used to be able to achieve physically, and I'm sure will in the future. So COVID killed the webinar star. I think what it actually did is it made us realize that as consumers, as professionals, as people, from our digital experiences, we're actually much more demanding than being talked at, where we can actually consume that sort of content on demand on a number of channels. And to make moments magical and special and events something memorable, It is about connecting people, actually connecting people such as this with platforms that make them feel part of something bigger, and doing so with data-driven connections, so that time ROI actually takes on an even greater meaning than it has before. So I know it's been quite a long 3 days for everybody, and I see we only have about 3 minutes left or so. I don't know if Paul is going to be back and joining, but I actually do have the Q&A open in another window. So if there is anybody who has any questions, feel free to bring them into the chat now. But if not, I hope everybody had a great Event Tech Live. And of course, if anybody wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on the platform, I am absolutely more than happy to. Oh, he's back. James is back. Oh, now James is gone.
Yes, I am. I'm back in the room. I'm back in the room with you, Harlan. People frantically pushing buttons, and I can hear click, click, click in the earpiece as I come back to you. I remember the light bulb moment about 3 months ago when I realized that I hadn't seen the word webinar anywhere for months. Anywhere. Yeah. It just disappeared overnight off the face of the earth. And interestingly, just whilst I was off air, but still listening to you, I just quickly sort of Googled the definition of seminar, which is obviously where webinar was then ultimately derived from, and an occasion when a teacher or expert meets with a group of people to study and discuss something. And that's very much sort of the old school way of doing things, isn't it? I'm the expert, and I'm going to talk to you down the camera, and I'm going to tell you what you need to know, and you're going to learn from me. And this is why our thinking has changed, isn't it? Because it's so much more open to discussion now than just somebody talking down the barrel of a camera.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree more. And I think like somebody talking, like let's be honest, James, like somebody talking down the barrel of a camera is really no different than me going onto YouTube and typing in a topic that is of some interest to me, watching it on my own time on any one of 5 devices that I own. If we're not at a stage now where we're all in agreement that that is just content. It's not an event. It's not anything that's creating any sort of engagement or real value. It's competing with TikTok, right? You know, I am more likely to get the value and information I want by trying to find it myself than by clicking on a link at a specific time so somebody can talk down the barrel to me for X amount of time. And quite frankly, and you know, and I know this is a large event, there's lots of stuff. The next thing is going to be, well, is Q&A really typing in a chat? That's like comments on a YouTube video in certain ways. And yes, there's a live speaker there, but you know, this is not going to slow down. And you know, as I said in the beginning, right, GDS is in a fortunate, unique position. We had no choice, right, because we are an event company and we needed to really stick to our, you know, our cores. And I'm glad that we were successful. But these digital vehicles are going to be important for businesses of all types forever. We're never going back to exactly the way it was, and I know that everybody knows that already. So it is actually time to start getting creative, thinking outside the boundaries, pushing technology providers to offer them more than they are now. And I think that that is actually a really key point. And we see technology pushing so many other industries forward in a lot of ways, and event tech has done a great job. But the biggest difference between 2019 and right now is that companies used to go at the speed of innovation that they were comfortable with and that customers desired. Right now, they have to go at the speed that their companies are demanded to go to because customers are demanding it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that we all need to be brave about and just face it. Like, that is what it is. I personally, and you know, we relish the challenge. And I think that it was very, very difficult to innovate a physical event. If you had asked me in 2019 what we were doing to innovate our physical summits that we had planned for 2020, I was excited about wearables. That's laughable now, right? Compared to what, innovation has been in the industry now. And that's the truth, right? And that's where we were. So we needed a kick in the ass as an industry, as much as any other industry did as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, could agree more. And I was just furiously scrolling back through the agenda of the last couple of days, because you reminded me of something that we came on to discuss in one of the sessions yesterday, when you mentioned about, the text sort of chat function and it becoming no different really to just YouTube comments. And, I did ask, a lot of interaction at events like this is very much text driven at the moment, because ultimately that's what the platforms have got available. And really, if we're going to open it up to sort of wider discussion and have input from the attendees and the attendees driving the content, there could be all sorts of other sharing options that hopefully can be developed, video content, infographics, links, whatever they want to put up, get the audience involved in the discussion rather than just text comments.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, those things are already out there, and we're doing it, right? So I'm not gonna, we don't use text. I mean, and people are more than welcome to go to our site and email me, and I'll kind of show you. But we're operating from television studios where we've utilized Zoom and developed some technology where we're effectively making television, but those Zoom feeds are used in a way where they're actually in the room, and our live keynote speakers are up on the same stage as if it was a television show. So listen, we were not a technology company 18 months ago, and we figured out a way to do it, and we're offering that for our clients. But I guess my thing is with that, you just need to be braver. People need to start pushing the boundaries a bit more. And I know, you mentioned infographics and things like that. When it comes to virtual roundtables and discussions, if you're not using a virtual whiteboard, well, why not? Those things, those create tangible takeaways and infographics and things that people can walk away with a memento that is saying, that's what we just achieved. I just connected with 8 people in a live chat, and this is what we achieved. That's what people want from virtual engagements. It is noisy out there, and it's not enough to just say that was great content. I'm sure they learned a lot from that person talking for 20 minutes.
Harlan, we've just had a question come in on Glisser. We're pushed for time, but if I can, I'm going to put you the question, and perhaps we can just get some bullet points from you in response to the question that I'm going to put to you. What do you do to ensure that your attendees get a great experience before and or during a virtual event?
Okay, so before is quite easy. We don't want them coming if we aren't sure they're coming for the right reasons, right? So if you're bringing together a group of people and you're investing the time, the technology, and the people, our people, and the effort to create a virtual platform where they are in the same room and can interact with each other, interact with speakers, well, that event is also only going to be as good as the intentions and the excitement and the enthusiasm of the people that are there. So step one for us is that sort of qualification, hands down. Once that's done, it's then just about education and making them aware of who those other people are and why they're coming, and that they're there for the same reasons, because that's what actually gets people excited. Because the time they show up at that event, we barely need our keynote speakers to talk for more than 15 minutes before everybody wants to get up on stage and discuss it amongst themselves and interact with those people. So it's about data-driven. Are the right people there? Is it the right mix of people? Are they coming for the right reasons? And then during the event, giving them every single opportunity we have to ask questions, to challenge the speakers, to challenge themselves in a live, real-time, I see myself on TV format. Technology is the facilitator. Them being there for the right reasons and wanting to achieve the right outcomes and value, it's a combination. This is still a human business, right? Doesn't matter if we're 3,000 miles away, we're in the same room or anything. It's a human business. As I said in the beginning, what's your North Star? What do you want your attendees to walk away feeling like they achieved? Find the technology to make that happen. And at this point in time, if you want to be a winner in the space, they need to be able to interact with each other.
What a fantastic point to make as the last point on the Omni stage at Event Tech Live USA Canada 21. And we've been learning about how COVID killed the webinar star with the Vice President of Production at GDS Group, Mr. Harlan Davis. And Harlan, I know that you guys are right in the middle of you running your own event at the moment. So you've nipped away from the studio that you guys have got operational there at the moment to talk to us. So it's been great. Thank you for taking the time out of that schedule to come and talk to Event Tech Live. And we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. It was great. And congratulations on a great event for you guys as well.
Thank you very much.